I'm not sure what the expertise is here on the council. What experience do we have? Nobody here has ever cut a tax, or to my knowledge, I could be wrong, voted against any single bond issuance. Anybody?
Let's talk about
Can you just answer
Well,
my question?
may I just make a comment?
Sure.
They don't put forward, this council doesn't put forward bond issues that they don't feel is required or necessary. So why would they vote against something that they've determined is appropriate?
Sometimes people have poor judgment.
For instance, road improvements. Roads need to be done. We've been doing that over the years on a cyclical basis. Okay? This year we put it off because of the expenses of Sandy. So to say that we haven't voted against, the council hasn't voted against bond improvements, they only put forward bond improvements that they feel are legitimate and that would best serve the council.
Absolutely understandable, but sometimes if you hand an 18-year-old a credit card, they feel like plenty of their expenses are legitimate and acceptable, but they're not. So hold on. I honestly have to question judgment. Nobody's ever voted against a bond issuance. Nobody's ever cut or maintained a municipal tax rate. 1 year. Anybody? Not one of you.
Again.
Right? So wait, hold on. So I had a conversation with this gentleman earlier today on the phone, and he made a comment that he may have to leave Red Bank because his property taxes are going through the roof. And I understand that we all sit here and we say, well, taxes have to go up and we have to, it's a cup of coffee, it's just an extra cup of coffee every day. Look, I remember a time when I was a kid, I was 7 years old, and my dad had left and my mom literally couldn't afford to buy me a Halloween costume. Okay? So what was that, $15 back then? So your $5, there are single mothers in this town. So your $5 cup of coffee is hurting them. Your $5 cup of coffee is hurting this gentleman. And nobody here has any demonstrated record, not one member of the council has a demonstrated ability to ever cut or maintain a tax.
If you're going to let me, is that a statement or a question?
Yeah.
Hold on, a statement or a question? Do you have a question or a statement?
That was a statement.
No, that was a statement, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think one of the things that I appreciate you looking from your point of view, but I also think that you have to also take into consideration that Red Bank is also 16.1% with not-for-profits. And you didn't mention that, and I understand because your argument didn't include that, but I think you also have to realize that of that, that's almost $1 million that we lose. It's in excess of $1 million that we lose.
Absolutely. But Councilman, how many ratables do we have in comparison to the towns next to us, all the towns around us?
But Sean, that makes no difference.
Sure.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. Because if you have a certain percentage of that rateable is tax exempt, it's money you're not getting.
Okay, fair point. So we lose $1 million.
But
here, right?
you raised a number of good points.
That's on a repeated basis.
No, but here's my point. Just tell everybody your taxes will go up every single year.
Hold on. And that's not right, because strike that, because within our municipal budget, we have things that we cannot control. So we pass down increases from, for example, the school increases, right? So when our operations are flat, when our spending is flat, but we have increases that we cannot control, right? Such as our schools, such as some labor contracts that we have to comply with. All of that comes into play. So for you to make that statement that no one has made a conscious effort to be cost effective.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Councilwoman Lewis.
Oh, she's not like that on this one?
No, she's here now.
She's here.
Oh, great.
To be cost effective is a misrepresentation. Because what we do here is we look for every ways in which to cut our budget, line by line. And I begin with Colleen and our finance committee, Ed Zippridge and Juanita Lewis, going line by line saying where can we cut and where is our revenue. In this particular instance, not only has our debt gone down over the course of time, but we also lost revenue with respect to the economic downturn in excess of $200,000. Besides, unless we change our tax system of balancing our budgets on real estate, and maybe that's the discussion that we should have.
Absolutely.
I personally think that we need to change that. We also have had, I guess, based on the the assessments, we had in excess of $20 million of assessed value lost because of the economic downturn. So, and in addition to that, we also had, Sandy, and I think the damage to that for us was $508,000.
Yeah, can I just take point by point for a second?
Sure.
So I understand you have lost assessments, but that's because 500 people in town, it's about 500 or so, is that about how many people?
It's about 500.
Yeah, about 500 people thought their taxes were too high and wanted to appeal the taxes, right?
Well, that's commercial and residential.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay, fair point.
And some of it were condos.
Right, but the same thing happened, the same economic downturn happened in Fairhaven. Same economic downturn happened in Rumson, well, maybe not. The same economic downturn happened in Middletown. Yet, they're taxing,
And you know what, a fair point, Middletown closed their library. Middletown closed their branches.
Okay, got it.
And so you go back and forth, but if you look at our budget, we have been fiscally conservative with respect to our budget. And to allege or argue that we did not attempt to bring it in flat or in any way cut, that is a misnomer. That is not true.
Hey, Councilman, look, I used to be able to pitch when I was a kid. I can't go pitch for the Yankees. I may try all I want, but I can't do it. Just say you can't do it. Just don't lie to the people when you guys are all up for election and you say, well, we're going to hold the line on property taxes, we're going to cut your property taxes. You never do it. Not one of you has ever done it.
The sad thing is that we have demonstrated where we've cut. And we've also demonstrated the costs which have increased, which are beyond our control. You have failed to acknowledge that there are some costs that are beyond our control. You also have failed to acknowledge the points that I raised where we have remained our spending flat. If you look at our budget, and you know what, I would be more than happy to go through our budget with you to demonstrate that our operating expenses have gone flat. Our overall labor force has gone down over the course of time. And now what we're doing is that many people, many jobs, are now used or are done by one person. And now we don't have, for example, I think when I first started, there was 178 employees, and I think we're down to 151 or 152. And that's over the course of time because you're right, we haven't had the ability to hire. But yet we still have to maintain our roads. We still have to make sure we have garbage collection and provide our water. Our water is a very valuable resource here in Red Bank, together with our public employees. We have one of the finest police departments in the nation and in the state of New Jersey. Our public workers, have you noticed at 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning, they're the first ones up, cleaning up, doing our recycling and doing our garbage and sweeping our streets and trying to repair our roads. But I will tell you, they don't get paid very much. And yet they're doing a number of jobs, and as the mayor said, some of these public employees are not only working in the DPW, but they're also working in our water utilities.
I understand, but it takes somebody like me to walk up here and say, hey, maybe we should privatize garbage.
No, that's not.
Wait.
Sean, with all due respect,
Yeah.
we have had that discussion, and perhaps we have not been strong advocates of bringing that to the public. Perhaps that's our fault.
Yeah, maybe.
We have had that discussion, and frankly, it is a public discussion. We should have it again, but we've had it, and the numbers should go out to the public, and we should make a decision. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The other discussion I've been espousing for 3 years now, and it hasn't gone anywhere, would really be that to do what Fairhaven has done, what Middletown has done. The biggest town in the county has went out and done internal engineering services instead of farming it out to a private firm. And they've saved millions of dollars. We have to do the same thing, but that's a public discussion this council has to have.
And that's a good point, Mayor. So why hasn't that been done? Why haven't we internalized our engineering?
Well, still need some numbers together, and we have to go forward.
Remember, we also have to make money off of this. We can't spend more than we're currently paying. I mean, the model that I have seen, the model that I have seen is right. Fairhaven and Middletown, I think Howell, and there's one other. What is it?
Even Marlboro.
Yeah, Marlboro has an in-house engineer, and we do have to make sure that every department's cut.
Yeah. So again, 6 years Fairhaven, no tax increase. 6 years Red Bank, giant tax increase.
No, I
wouldn't carry it right.
Sean, I want to know, do you have the same conversation with the school board? Since 65 cents of your tax dollar goes to the Board of Education?
Believe it, it's on my list.